All right, 8th graders, or 7th graders, sorry. Lesson 60 here, fractional part of a number and percent of a number. In this lesson, we're going to take a sentence with words and numbers and change it into a math problem. And what we need to see is that the word is going to be changed into an equals sign, and the word of is going to be changed into a multiplication sign. So, in example 1, let's take a look. We say, what number is 0.6 of 31? So what we're really asking there is, if I have 31 of something, what's 6/10 of it, or a part of it? 0.5 would be half, so we want a little bit more than half of 31. So that gives us a clue to our number. Our answer should be a little more than half, a little more than 15, maybe 16 or 17 or 18, somewhere in there. Now, we need to turn this into a problem, though. So we're going to use what number. Then we get is, that's equals 0.6, and then the word of becomes multiplication 31. So here we have our math problem. 31 times 0.6 is what number? So I should rewrite that. 31.0 times 6 equals, I'm just going to call it a W there. So that's the type of problem that we're going to be doing. So if I try to solve this problem here, I can do 31 times 0.6. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 3, that'll be 18. There's one number after the decimal, so I need to have one number here after the decimal. So my answer is 18.6. And like we had said earlier, our number should be a little larger than half, a little larger than 15. So 18.6 makes sense. That's a good, sensible answer. So let's go on to example. There we have 3/5 of 120 is what number? So if I rewrite that into another problem, I'm going to do 3/5 and then of, if you remember, is times 120. The is equals W. Alright, so I can solve that. 3/5 times 120 over 1. And now I look diagonally here, and I see 5 goes into 120. I can divide both of them by 5. So cancel the 5 and make it a 1. And 120 divided by 5 is 24. So now I have 24 times 3. And that'll be 72. 1 times 1 is 1. So that equals 72. So does that make sense? 3/5, a little more than half of 120. Sure, half of 120 is 60. So 72 is a little bit more than half of 60, or of 120. So 3/5, that makes sense. That works out there. All right, example 3 here. We're going to kind of try to translate those words into a percent problem. And we're going to see a few ways that we can do it. So we got a jacket here. It sold for $75. 40% of the selling price was profit. So how much money is 40% of 75? So we've got money, and then I've got is, so that would be the equals 40% of 75. So that's going to be our math problem. Now, we can't really use 40%. So there's two different types of problems we could do. I'm going to rewrite them. 75 times 40% could be 0.4 equals M, or I could write it as $75 times 40 over 100 equals M. Alright, let's try to solve these then. 75 times 0.4, 4 times 5 is 20, 4 times 7 is 28, 29. So we get 30. I need one decimal, place. Here's put one decimal here, put the dollar sign here. I'm going to have to add a 0, so $30. So just less than half, because again, 0.5 is half, so just less than half of 75 is $30. That makes sense. Over here, another way that we could do it, we've got 75 over 1 times 40 over 100. We can regroup these, make this 3/4. And now I could reduce this one here, make this 10 or 4, and 40 make it 10 over 1. So 3 times 10 would be 30. 1 times 1 is 1. Rewrite that down here, so $30 as well. So either way, solve the answer. But again, if we look back up here, I'm asking 40%, so just less than half of $75. 50% would put us at about 36, 37. I'm a little bit less than that. My answer makes sense. Example 4. A certain used car salesperson receives a commission of 8% of the selling price of a car. That means that's the pay that he's getting for selling the car. He gets 8% of the price. That's why you see a salesman wants to sell for as high as he can to get as much money as he can, but not so high that you won't buy it. So if the salesperson sells a car for $3,600, how much is the salesperson's commission? How much is his pay? So we want to find 8%. So how much money is 8% of, oops, should erase that there, of 3,600. Now again, there's two different ways we could do this. We could do it as a fraction and as a decimal. I prefer the decimal way. 3,600 times 0.8. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 3 is 24. 25, 26, 27, 28. And there's one decimal place in, 0.08. There's two decimal places here. Put that in there. So that's his commission. He would receive $288 for selling a car of that amount. Now, does that make sense? Well, 8% is close to 10%. 10% of 3,600 is 360. So I'm a little less than 360, and 288 is a little less than 360. So that seems to make sense there. All right, last one here, example 5. What number, so I'm just going to say that is, so equals 25% of 88. Okay, I know half is 50%, so that should be 44. 25% is half of half, so I'm basically asking for a fourth. So I should be around 20, somewhere in there. So here I might convert this to 1/4. 1/4 times 88 over 1. Reduce there. I can divide both of those by 4. That'll be 1. Divide this by 4 will be 22. 22 over 1. So my answer is 22. And again, that makes sense. That's half of 88, or 1/4 of it. All right. You can get started on your practice set, 7th graders.